Okay, our company is a UK-US publishing business. Traditionally, we were a print business. We started off publishing games magazines, created in Bath in Western England in the mid-1980s by a man called Chris Anderson, who now runs the TED conferences in the US, which you may know. And I came to Future a couple of years ago, and the big challenge was, how do you take a print business and revolutionize it to make it a digital business and do it at speed and at the same time continue to increase profits? That's quite a challenge. We're a public company. We have a duty to shareholders and investors to grow our bottom line. So the challenge is, can we become a more digital business in a very short period? And can we find ways to monetize the audiences we reach? So that's been the challenge. In the last 2 years, we've made quite a lot of progress. Right now, our digital revenues are growing at around 33 to 35% a year. Digital revenues are now about just over 25% of our total business. Just over a year ago, they were about 11% at the end of 2011. So we've made quite fast progress, and my ambition is to get digital revenues to 50% within the next 2 to 3 years. And I will talk a bit about, when I get there, about how we're going to do that. I'll just take you through some of the things that we're doing to grow digital revenues. When we get the slide of the stats up, we obviously measure our progress in terms of revenue and profits, but we now measure also how our audience engagement, our audience reach. And for example, on this slide on the left, if it came up, you'd see that we reach 51 million unique users a month online. We have over 4 million social media followers, which is a number we're trying to expand quite quickly. 10 million YouTube views a month is our current rate of video usage, and growing video as part of the product mix has been a particular emphasis. And our revenues on tablets like the iPad are running at about $1.2 million a month and have been growing quite steadily since the launch of the iPad in 2010. And we have a global business, 225 licenses and 89 overseas partners, and we still print magazines. As said, we're a UK-US business. We have over 1,000 people based in London, Bath, and San Francisco, and also with a growing office in Sydney. Our focus has been on creating an integrated business so that we can develop products in one geography and launch them worldwide. We have a clear twin-track strategy in digital growth. One is to grow our online audience, which we see as a free-to-air audience, and where the challenge is to monetize that audience in a number of different ways. That can be through advertising, it can be through e-commerce, it can be through a number of other ways. The other path to growth is on tablets and smartphones, and that is a paid-for content. So how can we get people to pay for content, whether it's on a tablet, whether it's behind a paywall, whether it's on a mobile phone? And those are the challenges those are the two tracks we're going down. And we see it again as we're trying to grow a global business. We're focusing on key markets, which include technology, sports, and video games, where we started, but also photography, music, and crafts, which we're quite big in, and digital design, which is website design and computer-based graphics design. And it's a benefit being a niche business, being a business with in sticky niches like sports and technology, where you have quite loyal followers, and you have a tendency for people to follow brands, and you have the ability to reach new audiences worldwide. And that has been the strategy which we've based the business growth on. So I can get this to work. And the challenge has been to say, we have big cycling brands. If you have big cycling brands, can you reach cyclists worldwide? And the answer is yes, you can. Can you then start to monetize those audiences in different geographies. So that is our focus is then, and what I'm trying to do is we have been focusing on English language markets up to now. The next stage of our progress is to say, no, we are now going to focus on continental Europe. We're developing low-cost translation models. I don't think translation should be a barrier to growing new businesses, and we're looking in particular at Germany, France, and Italy as growth markets, and in particular for technology and cycling, which are our two strongest areas, if you like. So the focus primarily, though, has been on US and UK. You're doing well here. We're getting there. So, as said, it's a twin-track strategy to grow online audiences and tablet revenues, global execution in our key growth markets, which is technology, sports, and games. And we're evolving our business model with new and complementary revenue drivers, and I'll come into that a bit in a moment. If you could see that, it would tell you our online audience has grown 46% in the last year. Our strongest, and in fact the online audience has doubled in the last 2 years, and our page view numbers are running at about 310, 320 million. Page views are much more important because they are the key to monetization. Our big areas are technology and sports and games, and one of the things we've done, which we're now looking at following in Europe, is we've customized our online products for different markets. So, for example, our biggest technology site is TechRadar. This is very similar to CNET. It's a technology information site. We customized that for the American market by employing 3 people in San Francisco, whose job is to, first of all, Americanize the core content and also to add content which is relevant to the American market. The result of that was that our unique user numbers, our traffic, went up within a year from 2 million to 6.5 million unique users. More importantly, we can start to sell advertising around that audience. And in the future, we will aim to grow that audience much more quickly. Our other growth areas are in a strong growth now in B2B, particularly in technology for small companies. In our digital design space, this is 3D animation, it's website design. And we have an overriding ambition to be a world leader in technology and above all in cycling. We have very strong brands in cycling and in mountain biking off-road, and we'll build on those. What this slide would say is, how do we do it? We've developed our digital skills. We took a company which was very strong in print, but very strong design skills, very high-quality products, and we developed our own in-house skills and we brought people in. I've been in the company for about 2.5 years. I've been quite relentless in enforcing a pace of change. We've made it a data-driven company much more. We've developed our search engine optimization skills, which are very, very essential for our website development. We've got very, very focused consumer research to help develop our products. We're forcing the pace on developing video, and we manage social networks as part of the product development. Part of the cultural change has involved quite fundamental change. We've had layoff programs. We've reduced staff in the UK by probably about 150, in the US by about 120, and we've brought in new skills, particularly digital skills and audience development skills. And it's those skills which are helping us build our websites and develop our tablet products. So this has been, and actually we've also got very strong software development skills. Now, if I can give you an example of how this works, this is T3, which is our leading technology magazine in the UK. It's it's gadgets and girls. The girls are probably going to go. Increasingly, they're a problem. They're a big problem in America. They work in the UK, but it's not. The brand is hindered by the girls. Would you believe it? So the focus on T3 is how do you reach your consumers on every single platform. So we've got a print product on the left, which still sells very well in the UK and overseas. We have T3.com, a website which now reaches about 5 to 6 million unique users a month. We have our tablet product. It is the most interactive product we produce. Video-rich, push-button-rich, moving graphics. You can do a lot with the T3 tablet app. And we have mobile as well. We have T3 adapted to the mobile. We see mobile phones as now our biggest growing opportunity because of not only the fact that everybody's got mobile phones and they're getting used to paying for things, but micro-payment systems are coming on stream now. And I think there will be more and more ways to break up content into small bites and to sell the content for small levels of funding. And finally, events. So this is total engagement of your consumers according to the device they want to use. And the key statistic in this for us is when we launched T3 in 1996, I think it was launched, all our revenues, all our profits obviously came from sales of the magazine in retail outlets like WH Smith. So 100% of the profit came from print sales in retail. This year will be the most profitable year in T3's history, and only 20% of that profit will come from print sales in retail. More than 50% of the profits will come from digital revenues. Now, this is a chart showing tablet sales. This is since the launch, really, of the iPad in October 2011, the Apple newsstand. And as you can see there, you're doing well there, it's getting close. We've had fairly constant growth in our sales of digital editions on the Apple newsstand. We have about 70 to 80 monthly titles on the Apple newsstand. We have 230 one-offs and specials. And we're now producing content for Google Play, obviously for Zinio, and for Amazon. And the blue bar there is Google Play, Zinio and Amazon, and that is becoming a bigger part of the revenue mix. So right now, as I said, we're selling about $1.3 million a month, and we would expect that figure to grow. I'll go through this a bit. We've sold more than 5 million digital editions so far just on the Apple newsstand. Important factor, 75% of our sales are outside the UK, even though we're selling primarily UK product. Mostly, more than half are paid subscriptions. About 60% of people take up subscriptions. 60% of subscriptions are renewed. And we have two of the leading products. T3 is the top-selling iPad magazine in the UK, and Mac Life is the top tech title in the US. And we're doing new things. We developed our own software, Future Folio. We're using that to develop new products and new frequencies. And that chart shows our position. We're a medium-sized publisher in the greater scheme of things, but on the iPad, we produce 30 of the top 200 selling titles in the UK, which makes us the biggest publisher by sales and by numbers. And in the US, we're number 3. So we're quite pleased with that as a sign of progress. And how have we done it? The big brands are T3 and Mac Life. Mac Life sells 80,000 a month, primarily on the iPad. In the US, T3 sells about 35,000 a month. And then other big ones include cycling, our big Cycling Plus title, and Total Film. But we think this market is changing, so we've been doing new things, and that is developing weeklies, for example. Photography Week, which we launched in January, is the top-selling photography title in the US. This is another example. Again, our websites mainly bear no relationship to print magazines. They have been developed separately. They're managed as their own products, even though the teams are integrated. We have completely integrated digital teams. By producing weeklies now, we're also getting away from a relationship with a print product. But the key factor, all these products are produced by the same teams who were there already, whether they're producing magazines or they're producing websites. To some extent, tablets have given a new lease of life to print journalists and print designers because it's a new way to use their skills. But they've also seen that they need to evolve as the market evolves. We are seeing a bigger demand for weeklies, and we can also see a demand for daily content. And I want to talk a bit about that one on the right, Football Week, which is a quite innovative product which we launched at the beginning of the year. This is about English Premier League football. And it comes out on a Friday. I'll just give you the quick summary of that. It's an interactive iPad magazine, which we partnered with the PA, the Press Association, for. So you download it on a Friday. It's a magazine, upcoming games for the weekend. But then you get all this. It updates live over the weekend. So it's a tablet product which manages feeds, and it becomes a live updating app. And you get the teams before the match, you get live match coverage, you get the post-match analysis. So it's a different format for a digital magazine, for a tablet magazine. And what it enables us to do is to really bridge the link between tablet apps and websites, but it also means we have an app which we can use for other events. How have we done it? We've done it with our own software, Future Folio. This has been designed. We designed this in-house to make it fast and cost-effective to produce very interactive digital products. And it's easy enough that we are able to train our own print journalists to use it. So our editorial teams do produce their own interactive content for tablets. And we're now licensing it. Part of the drive we have is how do we diversify our revenues very quickly? And we look for every opportunity. And one of them is to take our software. We had a lot of interest in the software from other publishers. It's now, our software is now powering about 80 digital editions. And our clients include Ringier in Switzerland and Egmont, but we're also getting into corporate markets. And the skill sets which are in-house in a publishing business are very relevant to corporate markets now, which are trying to communicate via tablets. So it's quite an interesting way of developing a skill set. And to give you one example of that, one of our customers we're about to announce is a shoe shop chain in the UK, which is intending to have all its shoes as interactive photographs and pictures and apps files on a tablet, on an iPad, and they will reduce stock in all their stores, and then they will show customers the range when they come in to try something on and bring the shoes in within 2 to 3 hours. So it's a different way of reducing stock and improving the economics. We launch magazines still as well. We're not getting away from launching magazines. Print, on the whole, for us in the UK, is declining. Print sales of monthlies are declining at roughly 9 to 10% a year. That is a pretty fatal number. But we have a good record of launching new magazines. We've got a new way of pre-launching, which is working quite well. We pre-launch with blogs, Facebook pages, Twitter feeds, and we build an audience around the proposed product. We get customer engagement, consumer engagement before we actually go to launch. And the best example of that is Molly Makes, which is a craft magazine for women 18 to 35. Molly was profitable within 3 issues. It's now one of our most profitable magazines. It was launched just 2 years ago, and is becoming quite a big digital brand and an online brand, and is becoming a big US brand. Launched in the UK, now we're building it in the US. N-Photo, much the same. It's for Nikon camera users. We built up audiences for the product before it was launched, and it's an online brand, it's a tablet brand, and it's a print brand. So we're quite pleased with this model because it de-risks print launches. We still will launch new magazines. We have 2 or 3 in the pipeline if we think they'll become profitable quickly. And we're also producing what we call bookazines, which many of you may be familiar with. These are the timeless products, guide to the iPhone, guide to the iPad, which in many cases use recycled content, so are quite low cost to produce. But they sell at quite a high price, and they sit on the shelf for a very long time, which makes them appealing for retailers. There's a big growth in bookazine sales in Asia and in the US, In fact, there's a big congress of American distributors going on right now, and they are calling for more and more bookazines because the sale of regular weeklies and monthlies is still declining. The sale of expensive bookazines is increasing. And we've started producing in China, printing in China for the Asian market. Now, I talked about diversification. We are really focusing on how do we do more with our audiences, how do we generate different revenues and new revenues, and how do we interact with brands and advertisers to help them engage with audiences. One of these areas, and I gather you had an address from Vivek Shah from ZIF last year, but this is an important area for us too, which is advertising. It's data trading, it's managing advertising sales on a data-driven basis, using programmatic trading. This is a fast growth area for us. I think our programmatic ad revenues have grown by about 70% in the past year, and we expect that to accelerate. And that is not just straightforward data trading, but increasingly as data quality improves, premium programmatic, which means that you can sell a very precise audience. You can sell men aged 25 to 35 interested in tablets or laptops, or you can sell women interested in crafts or in fabrics. And so you can then enable brand campaigns to be targeted very closely, and the CPM rates, the advertising rates go up very much indeed to quite high levels. So this is a big area of focus for us. We have trading desks in London and New York, and I would expect us to expand those. At the same time, we're building out our e-commerce capabilities. We already have some e-commerce revenues. That's shopping partners on cycling, transaction revenue share on tech, for example. And that will now become, this is an area we'll focus on in the next 3 or 4 months to expand it. Another area to improve our diversification is to grow our event business. We're a bit slow. We've been slow on this as a company. We're now catching up. This is a way to engage with audiences, and we see it as a very important new revenue area. And we have quite ambitious plans for the next year or two for events. And that is, we see those on 2 levels. One is conferences, particularly around B2B areas that we're in, around technology, and also big shows around photography in particular. We're the top UK photography publisher, and probably number 2 in America now, and around cycling as well. So events is important. And then where do we go from there? Well, we've had an interesting challenge in terms of diversifying revenues. What we found is that our advertisers, the big brands we deal with, want engagement. The big challenge now is, I said, we don't want display ads anymore. We want you to give us engagement with audiences so we get feedback so that we know that they're looking at the content. In America, we have about 14 million regular visitors to our websites, and that's a big audience. And last year, we launched a couple of big campaigns, and the biggest of these was with Hyundai. And I want to show you this. This is where I got onto zombies. I hope it will work. And this shows what a print publishing business can get to, because this is the launch of a Hyundai car, and I'm going to get the film going and talk over it. If you've heard of The Walking Dead, it's a zombie series. If you haven't heard of it, it's a zombie series in the US. This is a zombie event that you're seeing snippets of that we organized in San Diego last August. We teamed up with the creator of The Walking Dead, which is both a comic book series and a TV series. That's this guy here. And we went to Hyundai and said, Hyundai said, we want to launch our new Hyundai Elantra and make it cool. How do you make it cool? So we teamed up with him and we said, well, you make it a zombie-proof car. And they said, we love it. So we, Future, built the zombie-proof car, working with Robert Kirkman, and we unveiled it, and that's some of the film you'll see here at Comic-Con, big comic event in San Diego. The traffic numbers on YouTube, on the websites, were phenomenal. And this is the unveiling you can see here. It looks terrific. We had a big televised event. We had live coverage from MSNBC, and we did have zombies wandering around as we did all this, and whole team of actors, a big event. Did it work? You bet it did. So much so that Hyundai have reconfirmed for this year, and we have a couple of other big campaigns as well. And we are now managing similar interactive content marketing campaigns in the UK. We see this as a very important part of how we grow our business. It's taking our creative skills, because a lot of this is based on, again, it's magazine design, it's interactive content, it's video production, it's audience reach, and it's saying, how do you take those skill sets and do something different to actually help advertisers reach their audiences? So we did this. It was a lot of fun, but more importantly, it was very, very successful. So I've got to let it go its full length because it is quite amazing. There we go. So that is just one example of how far we've come. I put this up at the end because we won an award last week. We've won all 3 UK awards for Top Digital Publisher of the Year or Publisher of the Year. And last week we won the AOP, that's the Association of Online Publishers. We're up against the Mail, Telegraph, Guardian, and so on. We won it for the 3rd year running. So I'm very proud of that because it means our industry peers see Future as a leader. Sorry, I'm sorry about the very poor display here. I will go back and deal with the technologist who set my laptop up, and he'll be looking for a job shortly. No, I don't know what happened there. I do apologize, but I hope you've got the gist of what I was trying to get across. What we've done is say, how can you take your creative skills, how can you reinvent the business, how can you bring in skills that you need and keep up momentum and move very fast indeed, and we have moved fast, and we continue to move fast. Cultural change is difficult. Cultural change is made easier if you are looking over the abyss and seeing disaster. It's a technique which I've referred to in our company as soft terror, and that is to make the staff aware that the alternative is closure, is death. We're in a survival battle. We're not just playing around trying to be a digital business. We either get this right or the company ceases to work. Because the print business, with its current rate of decline, cannot sustain the business. It's a cash cow now, but in longer term, it will not be able to be a viable business. And therefore, we have to reinvent ourselves. And that's a message we get across the staff all the time. And I'm pleased to say that, by and large, they've responded very well indeed, and they've got the message, and people are actually quite excited by what we're doing, and quite proud of it. So we've taken a company which was seen as failing, and is now seen as increasingly as a winner. And with that, I'm going to stop and see if there are any questions. And again, I apologize for not having had all the whizzy interactivity I was hoping to have there. But I hope the half slides you saw gave you a bit of a sense of what we're doing.
I was wondering, to what extent are you using your current reach for new initiatives? So you launch all kinds of magazines. Is that important, or is it purely standalone?
2 different answers there. I mean, by and large, we cross-promote everything, and we try to build out. So if we've got an audience, we try and build from the audience going out. And for example, if you look at our US position, we have a strong technology audience, we have a strong video games audience, we have a growing cycling audience and a crafts audience. And we're trying to see how we go forward with those audiences and do more things with them, although we probably won't do normal print in the US. If you look at bookazines, the last thing I mentioned, they are standalone one-offs. They are purely opportunistic. They take content which usually already exists, they repackage it, they look fantastic, they're on very high quality paper, they're glossy, they're coffee table books almost, and they sell typically in the US for $15 or $29. And you
can leave them in the shelf for a long time.
Yeah. The retailers adore them because you get the thing in, you put it up there, and it sits there for 3 months. It's got no date stamp on it. So it is how long this market will last, I don't know, but for the time being, if we get this right, what I'm hoping is that our increased bookazine production will offset the reduction in monthly print revenues, so or largely offset it, so we can reduce the decline in print revenues by producing more print. That gives us the opportunity to build the digital revenues. I said one of the challenges that we face with, I think we're the only public company, the only publicly quoted company amongst the major magazine publishers in the UK, but it does create a different framework for us. We have to report increased profits every 6 months. A lovely challenge when you're trying to change the business.
Yeah,
and
everybody's watching.
Everybody's watching everything we do, and everything we have to do has to be open and public. But bookazines are a way of saying, I suddenly realized that there was a big demand in Asia, big demand in the US, we could do a lot more. So I see those as a slightly separate product line. Everything else is interconnected, whether it's on the tablet, online, on mobile, and increasingly we are focusing on growing what I keep trying to get people to understand now as the future audience. And the future audience is a very attractive ABC1 audience of people who buy stuff online. So they buy technology, they buy cycling, they buy stuff, they buy clothes, and that's a terrific audience to do things with. And increasingly we're building up a big CRM, a big database of our customer data, and with their agreement, I hasten to add, and increasingly we will look to ways to grow that e-commerce and that engagement revenues. But the other thing is, which I think relevant for here is, because I look at tablets, and if I were you, I'd be saying, yeah, that's fine for you. You produce products in English, and you sell them into the American market, which is what we do. 50% of our tablet sales, or 40% of our tablet sales are in the US. So we're selling UK product into the American market. Terrific. Really hard to do in Dutch. But what we have found is that we've been building up a very low-cost translation model. I don't think translation is a barrier to entering new markets at all. And I think we see big opportunities in continental Europe. We use ex-students in the UK, of which there are thousands of people who want to stay in London or want to stay in Bath and work for, relatively speaking, quite low salaries and produce very high
translation. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Very high quality translation.
Thank you, Mark. One last question.
I listened to your story, and a lot of what you say is actually what I think a lot of people are trying and doing here as well. But you're tremendously successful in it. So what would make this what you do different? So in order to be so successful from what everybody is trying.
What's the secret of your success, Mr. Wood?
Why did you win the prizes?
I think the secret is tapping into the skills in the company. First of all, it's being ambitious. It's being courageous. When I joined Future, started at Future, they just launched the iPad, and I said that I wanted 10 apps. We got 50 apps on the Apple newsstand, on the Apple newsstand's release. I said we've got to have 50 digital titles when the Apple newsstand is launched. Company said that's impossible. We can't do it. They did it. We had more digital magazines on the Apple newsstand at launch than the whole of Japan. And Apple told us this, and we were the biggest publisher on the iPad, we still are. And we did that because they said, we can do it, we've got to do it. And everybody said, okay, it's hard, it's difficult, we've got so much else to do, yeah, get on with it. So it's ambition, it's courage to take risks, and we do take risks. And I don't worry about failure. If things don't work, we stop doing them. We just say, it didn't work, forget it, let's do something else. Let's not have an inquest and spend weeks deciding why it didn't work. We just say it didn't work, move on, next. And that culture is quite important too. But we benefit from good skill sets in-house. We benefit from the sectors we're in. I mean, it's great being in technology. That's helped us accelerate our online and tablet development.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and apologies again.
No problem. Mr. Mark Wood.
Thank you. Thanks.